lot of extra time waiting for the acolyte. I am gonna catch that fool. You will think I'm really cool. All I wanna do is impress you with my mouse trap. All I wanna do is convince you with my cheese. All I'll do is be the coolest cat here, but I'll need some.
Hello, good morning, MouseHunt. Welcome. Feedback Friday. What day is it? It is August 25, 2017. How's everybody in the chat doing this morning, this evening, this afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world? Probably Dave, yes. There's no more probably about it. It's me, it's Dave. Jacob did quite a few Feedback Friday in a row. I think I was a little indisposed. I was away last Friday. So he did Feedback Friday that week as well, but I think he did 2 or 3 in a row. Good morning, hello. Hello, Axel, Schmidt, Salim, Kate, Ryan, the very best, 1981. Hi Dave, all good? Yes, I'm all good. Hello Brian, JJ. JJ asks, how was your vacay? A vacay from JJ. Yeah, it was good. Giorgio, Franco, and I. And someone else who used to work here, actually, who was named, or is named Darcy. We went camping in a little bit of rural Quebec, a couple hours north of Montreal. So that was fun. We went for a few days. We were roughing it off the grid. Hello, Dario. I'm well. Tyler, Eileen, Katrina, Darren, Sean, Steven. Hello. Quite a few people here for Feedback Friday. Well, today, what are we doing? We got going to go over next week's update. Next Tuesday, there's going to be a game update, and it is going to bring some Hunter title updates, as well as early access for Moussu Picchu. We'll go over that. And I have a couple feedback topics that we'll ask hunters in the chat for feedback. If you're watching this recorded, I usually post a summary in the tavern section of the forums as well. You can leave your responses there. And last but not least, as always, Larry will have a trivia question, which this one is a little bit about the history of MouseHunt. I don't even know if... Well, we'll get to that part when we get there. So first, we'll go over the update. I want to fill everybody in next Tuesday. That is August 29, 2017. The update will bring a update. The update will update Hunter's titles, as well as provide early access to the Moussu Picchu Map Piece. So not quite the area, but you'll be able to obtain the map piece next week. And will sort of set the stage so you're all set when Moussu Picchu does arrive. So starting with Moussu Picchu early map access, as I said, next week you're going to be able to get your hands on the map piece that will unlock Moussu Picchu. However, due to heavy storms, you won't be able to go there quite yet. Or a non-thematic way of saying that is we want to put the map piece into the game ahead of time so that you have time to go and complete all the objectives that it's going to require to obtain the map piece, so that when Moussu Picchu does come, you're going to be all set on day one, ready to go right into the area without having to track down the map piece first. So it'll be interesting to see what do hunters in the chat think about that. It's something we've done in the past, and I think we've asked for similar feedback with the Fungal Cavern. You could acquire the Labyrinth key before the Labyrinth was released. Is Moussu Picchu in Texas? No. There's some bad weather in the Gulf, but hopefully everyone's doing well there if you're in the Gulf area. But Moussu Picchu is not around there, so it's not the same storm. But the area does have a stormy theme to it. I like it, says Celine. Good. Sounds good, says Kate. As long as no minnow is needed, I'm cool, says Brian. That is the intention. I will the adventure for the retired Minotaur rewards King's credits, and generally the adventures that reward King's credits are something we kind of see as a little bit of above and beyond, not necessarily a side quest per se, but those adventures are something to get, something that won't unlock the next area. So particularly that adventure is going to encourage hunters to try to track down the Minotaur base, because that's certainly a useful piece of equipment, but the plan was never to have the retired Minotaur unlock the next area. Shay asks for any hints on how to get the map piece so we can prep. We'll keep it a surprise until Tuesday. Everyone will know. It'll be in the news post on Tuesday as part of the update, and then everyone can be off to the races to try and track down that map piece. It's not too tricky, but it might take a little bit of time to do it. We'll keep that as a surprise. The only hint I will give is that Moussu Picchu is meant to be or not meant to, it's going to be a Grand Duke / Grand Duchess area. So it's reasonable to assume that you are going to have to visit a Duke / Duchess area to unlock it. And we've dropped plenty of hints in the past as well. So we'll let people speculate a little bit until Tuesday. Hedge your bets if you want to prep a little bit. But other than that, I think you'll have enough time to track down the map piece before Moussu Picchu actually arrives. And the very best asks, will we need boss loot from Labby Zokor mini bosses? I'm going to leave it a mystery. I'm not going to give too much detail about how the map piece will be obtained. It's nothing too crazy, though. It's a very accomplishable feat. Generally, when it comes to unlocking new areas, we want it to be something that's accessible, but a bit of an achievement as well. Hello to you as well, Michelle. Says hello in the chat. Dropped by the Shadow Stalker, says Shay. Well, I'll say it's not dropped by the Shadow Stalker mice, which will tie in with the feedback topic we're going to get to about mice that are not strategically fun to catch and what role they play. Brian in the chat's giving a vote for the Shadow Stalker. Well, I think that might be an unpopular opinion, but we'll get to that in the feedback as well. That'll be a nice tie-in. So next up is the Hunter title update. And if you've been watching Jacob for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I believe that's what he's been drawing. Maybe he did a Moussu Picchu mouse, and he was working on a trap, I believe, as well, doing live painting. But he's also been working on new shields, new icons for the various Hunters titles. And as we've sort of mentioned in previous Feedback Fridays, we're looking to add more titles past Archduke, and it's going to split up that massively long Archduke, Archduchess into many titles, and we're even adding a title that is above and beyond the requirements of Archduke as well. So depending on when you're online when this update comes, which is going to be on Tuesday, you may notice your title progress is a value greater than 100. Now, or 100%. I don't think this is going to affect a lot of players, but if you happen to be online the second we put that out, you may notice that you're maybe 140% Archduke or something, but then you're going to take a hunt, and that's what ranks you up. So the next hunt you take will sort of sync that up. So you may notice a little bit of a heads up on the rare chance that you happen to be online the second we push that out without having a trap check queued up or somebody taking you on a hunt. You may see that you're over 100%, but you will level up on the next title. And some feedback from Free Schmidt in there. I like when we have something to do to open up a new area. That's been some common feedback as well. Hunters looking for something a little bit more involved than just purchasing a map piece from a cartographer. And thanks for your well wishes there, Pure Exile. Love the game. Have great times playing with friends. Glad to hear it. And Emu, if I'm saying your name right there, says, great, one mouse down, let's keep narrowing the choices down. So you know one mouse that won't drop the map piece. There's what, 700 and change to go? Maybe more than that now. There's a lot of mice going. Shay asks, will there be any elite scrolls based on higher ranks? The plan is to have the elite level of difficulty for treasure maps released when we have an Archduke area, or enough mice that there will be Archduke-specific mice or Archduchess. The elite will require the title of Archduke, Archduchess in order to find elite maps. So we're kind of waiting until there's enough mice that makes sense to add that tier that goes above Arduous. The very best asks for a hint on how to craft the polluted chrome monster bot skin. I noticed that as well. There was some speculation going on the forums on how to get that skin. I don't know if anyone's crafted it. I meant to check if anyone owns that skin. The description of the skin pattern does say what items you need, but not in what portions. So, keep that in the back of my mind. Maybe we can add an extra hint or two. Going back to title updates here. So now for some more specifics in terms of titles, how it's going to affect Archduke, Archduchess hunters. Those will be the most affected by this update. If you're 80.83% or higher, you will become a sage. If you're 31.53% or higher, you will become an elder. And if you're 9.12% or higher of Archduke, Archduchess, you will become a viceroy. So we had a feedback thread up in the forums looking for suggestions from titles. Compiled all the suggestions from hunters, narrowed that down. We had a little brainstorm meeting here with the team, and we liked Viceroy, Elder, and Sage as the next 3 titles. So Archduke, Archduchess has been split up now. If you are about 9%, basically, Archduke is now only about 9% of what it was. So if you're 9% Archduke, you're no longer going to be Archduke, Archduchess, you'll be Viceroy. Or if you're 31.5%, you'll be Elder, or 80.8%, you'll be Sage. And I'll have this in the summary as well. I had 2 decimal points of precision, and I think I rounded up to the nearest 100. So hopefully my math's correct. I usually do the majority of math for the game, and I've been known to have the odd spreadsheet error. So my math could be wrong, but I think it's right. I think it's right. No changes to Grand Duke is a question in the chat from Katrina. Well, on a related note, titles below Archduke and Archduchess are also going to get a minor adjustment to the requirements for those titles. So that's just to kind of smooth out the title progression. Right now it's a little jagged of sort of how much experience you need to level up. So we've smoothed that out a little bit. We also took into account how long hunters are at a certain spot. We looked at that with the adventure book update as well. And we kind of got a little bit closer to a nicer feeling where as you finish the adventures, you're pretty close to leveling up. But we've gone and we smoothed that out a little bit more. So pretty well everybody's going to notice that their title will change. It's going to go up a little bit. I think the only title that's not going to be affected is Master. For whatever reason, it worked out where it's exactly the same as it was. But everyone else, you're going to get a little bump up in your title. I think Grand Duke is probably the most significant affected other than Archduke. A lot of Grand Dukes are probably going to become Archduke when the update goes out. How many people, Jonathan asks in the chat, will jump to any rank higher than Viceroy? You know, I haven't worked that out. I don't know how many hunters are at least 31.5% Archduke, but however many are, that's how many will be higher than Viceroy. Inu asks, do we know the trend of new hunters joining MouseHunt? Actually, we'll get to that a little bit in one of the feedback topics because it has to do with overhauling new areas. We're looking at the mountain. We have a plan on how to update the mountain, and there's a little bit of feedback we're looking at because it will also affect maybe higher level hunters. I'm curious in the chat how many people, have you worked out your title? Go look at your percentage if you're Archduke, Archduchess. How many sages would we have in the chat? How many people are 80.8% higher than Archduke? Oh, in Archduke, rather. Darren in the chat with the unpopular suggestion to have more tiers in the King's Gauntlet. I don't think that would go over too well with the majority of hunters. I haven't even checked what I'm going to be. That's important. Let's go see. This up. I usually close MouseHunt while I'm doing this. Reopen it. This will sound my horn. Got 2 streak going. I am 14. If you hover over your title progress bar, you can get 2 decimal points of precision. I am 14.24% Archduke, so I'm going to be a Viceroy. Not quite an Elder. Far from it. There are some 80% Archdukes. I think we were testing this out as part of the migration. We'd see when we apply the update, we had people at various stages, and we picked the first place hunter at the time, and made sure it was a smooth transition and they become Sage. Yeah, and just to reiterate as well, most people are going to see some increase in their title percentage because we've lowered quite a bit of the requirements to kind of smooth out that curve. And then split up Archduke. It used to be this massive title that we thought no one would ever finish. Hunters are finishing it. So we've sort of scrapped that idea of a big long title at the end that most people won't finish. And instead, we've added more titles in this. You can just keep going. Now, technically, there is a title past Sage, and it is the equivalent of 128% Archduke, Archduchess. So nobody will have that title because it's beyond the current requirement of completing Archduke, Archduchess. And technically right now that is implemented sort of as a level cap. So if somebody did reach that, they will stop progressing at that point. However, we do plan on adding some more titles before somebody gets there. But just in case, if we didn't have time or we forgot to do so, that person will sort of cease progressing at that point. Getting caught up on the chat here. Oh, a lot of people around the 14. Oh, we have a 79%. Oh, Duke. I think I missed. Ryan's asking for a follow-up on Derek's question, but I think I may have missed that. Can we get a summary update for points earned per player per tournament? That's an interesting idea. We haven't really visited tournaments in a while. In the back of our minds, or in our backlog, is a tournament overhaul that's kind of sitting out in the idea bank, but hasn't quite become a priority yet. That would certainly be a neat feature to add. How long does it take to get to the end of Archduke? Tell you what, let's open up a spreadsheet before we move on, because we worked that out roughly, because that's obviously part of the equation. All right. What do we got here? So how long does the new Archduke... So the new requirement of Archduke, which is roughly 9% Archduke of what it is right now, we were assuming... Where were we assuming how many hunts? My spreadsheets are just foreign to me once again. We were assuming 50 hunts per day. It would take you 444 days to complete Archduke at that rate. Now, it doesn't take a lot of other factors, but that's sort of an average. So it would take over a year to complete it. And obviously, a lot of people will do it much quicker than that. The whiteboard. Well, we share office space. I don't even think this is our whiteboard behind us. Some people in the chat are asking. This is sort of our spare office. We've been meaning to fix it up for a little bit. The boardroom is occupied, so I came back here. At some point, we'll probably put a coat of paint on the walls beyond just the blue wall behind me and fix this up a little. Only a year, how lucky they are. It takes a while. Unless those were outdated numbers I was looking at, but I think that was the updated spreadsheet. It's potato. Yeah. It's assuming you're getting, yeah, that much. Okay. I think that's correct. Many people will do it much quicker, but if you're doing 50 hunts a day and not really going out of your way to really min-max your point progression. Darren's asking, will 74% Grand Duke become Archduke? Off the top of my head, I don't know. So we'll see. That might be a little bit of a surprise if you level up. Jonathan's wondering about, or has a suggestion for the Ancient Booster Base. If you're maxed out on scrolls, then you start getting charms. We consider that as well, but you kind of like how either way you can choose. Like once you get 20 scrolls, you stop getting scrolls. So if you're the type of person who wants to crown the relic hunter, but you don't want to do treasure maps, and you also want to keep your relics, then you can just hunt that mouse and crown it. And once you hit the max, you'll stop losing relics at that point, so then you can save them for area-specific maps. And then the base as well is sort of a toggle on and off. You can decide if you want Ancient Charms or not. I think it drops 5 or 15 of one of the 4 varieties of Ancient Charms. So you can get 15 Ultimate Ancient Charms. So if you do have way too many relics, it's a way of basically converting your relics into Ancient Charms without having to go through the whole map. It is a little bit niche, but it is for people who are really looking to get as many Ancient Charms as they can. Since Moussu Picchu is coming soon, asks Brian, what percentage of Duke will become Grand Duke? Again, off the top of my head, I don't know, and especially, I won't try to work it out on camera, because usually that's when a math error will happen, and that'll be some misinformation. But roughly speaking here, let me see how extreme that transition was. So it used to be that much. It is significant, so I think a good chunk of Duke will become Grand Duke when the update goes out. That is roughly 10 million, yeah, 10. And you would need CPU fan turning on here. You need roughly maybe around, it saves you about 50 million points, somewhere in that ballpark, but That's back of the envelope calculation. So we've made Grand Duke about 50 to 60 million points shorter. That's worth mentioning too, kind of final note before we'll go on to the feedback questions there. As part of the thread we had for suggestions of Hunter's titles, people had lots of other great suggestions about what Hunter's titles could do, like what could they unlock, how could we make them different, things like getting a collectible when you level up and it has a nice little story about, you know, you've just been knighted by the king or you've become lord or lady in the kingdom. Those were all really neat ideas. And another one, just increasing the transparency. Right now it's a little bit confusing about exactly how you rank up. You just kind of keep hunting. You know points are good, but you don't really know why. And you keep hunting until you level up. We'd like to make that a little bit more transparent. And so I think there might be a future milestone at some point to incorporate some of those cool ideas Hunters had about what titles could unlock new things, and then try to make the leveling up process a lot more transparent so you can kind of gauge how quickly you're moving along. I think that's pretty obvious that most Hunters would probably enjoy that. Jolma asks, is Viceroy more likely to get Arduous map than Archduke? No, I think they're all grouped together. So once you hit a certain title where you've unlocked that map, it's a flat rate, flat chance to get the different difficulties. Will there be another Toxic Spill level with new levels? No, it will remain Archduke. Will be the top level of the Toxic Spill. Tibby asks, any thoughts letting us use 2 charms at a time? Probably not. If anything, we do something like the wealth charms where you can upgrade charms into more powerful versions so you can sort of craft your charms together. But arming 2 at a time opens up a lot of kind of weird little side effects, especially with charms that have very special effects. And if you arm 2 that kind of do opposite things, it's a lot of stuff to keep track of. Will make hunting in lower ranked areas for higher ranked hunters more attractive and fun, like seasonal gardens. Higher ranked hunters get perks. Yeah, that's interesting. So Brian had a little suggestion in the chat about adding perks to hunters titles in older areas, much like I think actually the only area that really does that well is Zugzwang's Tower. When you are Baron Count, and I believe Duke, you can charge up your amplifier higher. And that's something we want to explore. We're starting to reach a point where the areas are extremely high level, and so what we're going to be playing around with, we're playing in an Archduke area, and we want to experiment with adding new abilities for Viceroy, Elder, and Sage as well. So even though it's technically an Archduke is the minimum to get in there, to really get everything out of the area, maybe not unique mice, but certain power-ups, new abilities that unlock as you level up. And we're going to kind of see what the feedback is like on that and experiment with that for other areas, because it might be asking a lot to do a Sage area, at least in the short term, because there won't be a whole lot of hunters who have reached Sage. But if we could do an Archduke area and Sages have special abilities in there, it'll be a little bit more inclusive. You're bringing, you can hunt with your friends easier as well. There'll be more hunters in that location. So we're going to experiment a little bit with that with the first Archduke area. We'll see what the feedback is like on that. All right, so moving on to the feedback questions. There are two feedback topics. The first one is about Warpath Treasure Maps, which just came out. I've gotten a lot of feedback about the maps. Kind of want to bring up the topic on Feedback Friday, see what the feedback's like on the forums as well. We're currently planning to remove the Caravan Guard and the Flame Ordnance mice from the Warpath Treasure Maps. As a result, I think they're going to become a little bit shorter. They are 14 mice or 15 mice right now. I think they're going to be 12 or 13, if I recall. Let me see. Let me just double check. Why guess when I can look it up? Well, that's loading up. The feedback topic is, should the Caravan Guard or Flame Ordnance mouse be removed from Warpath Treasure Maps? Get rid of Warmonger. Well, there's a chance that you can get the map without the Warmonger on it. Yes, 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 that's great. In different opinion, Axel says, I see no problem with those mice being there. Matthew says, but not the artillery. No, leave them. All right, we're getting some no's coming in. Writing down some feedback. Yeah, take the caravan guard off, but keep the flame ordnance. It's interesting. Nerd Boy 1 says keep the artillery, especially because the big reward for the map is the artillery boss. Okay, well, we have some... That seems to be a sentiment as well. I think some other people in the office as well have mixed feelings. It seems the caravan guard's fairly unanimous, though. Most people do not really have fun trying to capture a caravan guard. My main gripe with the flame ordnance is that if you play the area to your fullest abilities, basically, try to do your best at the warpath, technically you shouldn't even catch flame ordnance because you'll be streaking, you'll be catching commanders, you'll be wiping out waves. There's only 12 of them, if I recall, in wave 3, so you can very easily wipe out all the artillery before you get to the end. So it almost feels like you need to slow yourself down. You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you're trying to capture them. You kind of have to disarm your streaking charms and just wait it out, and hopefully you get it sooner than later. The only real strategy you can do is trying not to capture commanders, which feels weird because that's part of the reward structure of the area is get commanders to speed it up. But avoid them, try to remove all the other mice, save those ones for last, or get the encounter pool nice and low so it increases your chance of seeing an artillery mouse. But then a commander may just randomly come around and start removing them. If you just catch 12 of them through random chance, then it'll remove all the artillery. There's 20, not 12. All right, thank you. Flame Ordnance Charm. That's an interesting suggestion from Grant. I don't know how useful they would be, but they could be a little rare. Could be a rare charm. You certainly wouldn't have to use very many of those. It was kind of neat that the warpath was set up that way, where the artilleries, the flame ordnance rather, are a little trickier to catch, but there's a way to just wipe them out before you even have to deal with them. Now, as you come back with your chrome monster bots and the rest, and the event horizon trap, you can definitely smash them pretty easily. Ordnance. Ordnance is hard to spell. The Magma Rage has a charm you can use. Yeah, the Magma Rage is the third wave Mage Mouse, I believe. And they all have craftable charms, so they're a little rarer to get, and that was kind of originally set up where the Warrior, Scout, and Archer, you can get them from the shop, they're plentiful, just use as many as you can. The other ones are crafted, so it's a little bit more of a controlled supply. They're still plentiful enough where you can get them, but it's just not a free-for-all. So strategically, you may want to try not to use those as the mice that you streak on so that you don't burn through those charms too quickly. But then we could think of another tier where the artillery is that super rare charm, where just when you need to snipe an artillery mouse, you have a few of those in your repertoire. But they're certainly not plentiful. They'd be the least plentiful charm. Suggestion to have the artillery commander drop that charm. That would certainly fit the bill of making it a very niche and rare charm that you would not have too many of them, but it's something that you could save for when you really need it. Well, Matthew's heading out. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy work. Hope you have a good day. Here, loot from the Warmonger, another suggestion from Darren. Write these down as well. You know, chest rewards. I'll see what everyone else on the team thinks. I'm warming up to that idea. Originally, I thought it might be weird to have an artillery commander charm, but I could see just there's the type of thing you just have a few of them in your inventory, and you're just like, these are for maps. I only use these when I need them. Kelvin, welcome back. Wow, Feedback Friday. I've stopped playing MH years ago. Well, welcome back, Kelvin. Yeah, well, Christian here in the chat is pointing out the exact scenario that is, I think, more frustrating than fun, where you've been on this map for a week, you keep trying to get the flame ordnance, and it keeps, keep accidentally making them all retreat, or it's just RNG, and you gotta go, oh, I gotta go all the way through the Warpath again. I find that more frustrating than fun, whereas something like the Gargantua mouse, I haven't really seen too many people complain about that mouse being on the map, even though it's a difficult mouse to capture and attract. But at least there's strategy. At any time, you can try to go for it. There's plenty of tricks in your bag to pull out to make that Gargantua mouse come out. And it can be a little frustrating when you get your streak up, you change your trap, and you miss it, or you don't attract it. But you can try again right away, whereas the Flame Ordnance just feels like chasing the Shelter. You don't know when it's going to happen, and every once in a while the ship just kicks you off. It says you can't come back for another couple days because the wave is over. Yeah, and the Gargantua guarantee charms certainly help a lot for that mouse as well, like Raykin said in the chat there. And that was one of the reasons we added them as a reward from the treasure maps, to kind of make sure they keep trickling into the game as people are in the Warpath. It'll keep the supply of those charms going, so that if you really need one, it's in the marketplace. Or when you finish a map, you can start to get a nice little stockpile built up of those Gargantua charms. With the Gargantua charm and the Draconic trap, isn't it impossible not to catch it at Streak 7? Well, not impossible. You can certainly fail to catch it still, but you'll definitely attract it if you have Super Brie and the Gargantua guarantee charm. If you have Gouda, it may fail to attract. It doesn't consume your charm, but it will break your streak. So it's important to remember as well, as attraction still plays a role. Warmonger loot guarantee charm. Again, the loot structure in the Warpath is certainly polarizing, but it's also exciting. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's why other areas we've sort of done slightly different takes on it, like the predatory processor, or putting in fail-safes like the sand dollars. Eventually you can just buy a predatory processor if you don't get it as a drop. But we're not too keen on updating the Warpath to add any things that will guarantee the Warmonger's loot. I think that's part of the reason for 5 years. It was released, well, I think over 5 years ago, and it's remained one of the most popular areas where people hunt like crazy in there. And I think it's the type of hunter who likes chasing that jackpot. There's just something exciting about it. But I understand it's polarizing. Either you love it or you hate it. Ryan has some feedback about portal projectors. That might be a good segue to move on as well. Actually, the next topic isn't about portal projectors, but I will mention as well, we're going to be running a poll about the future of portal projectors. Somebody remind me, we'll circle back to that after this next feedback topic. So feedback topic number 2 is about early game areas. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking at updating the mountain. And my throat's drying out here from speaking. We've overhauled a number of the very early game areas, like the windmill and the harbor, the town in Narnia quite some time ago. Even on mobile, the meadow got a fresh coat of paint. These updates have had a dramatically positive effect for new players that have been coming into the game. Every day, about 100 or so people try out the game, and since we've been doing these updates to very early game areas, we've seen a bigger and bigger percentage, or larger, not sure the right word there, a larger percentage of players are sticking with the game. They play it a little bit longer. It's interesting to see. We did the meadow, and a lot more players stayed in the game, but they all quit when they got to the town, because it's kind of like, what's going on? I'm lost. We redid the town in Narnia, and a lot more of those players kept playing through the town in Narnia, and same with the windmill, then the harbor, and now we have the mountain as sort of the area where they get there and players are kind of getting lost. So we're looking to overhaul the mountain. Although this improves the early portion of the game, we kind of notice a little bit of awkwardness from the collection aspect for higher level players, right? Because we've added new mice, like the harbor. We added 5 or 6 new pirate mice in the harbor to sort of fill out that story and reinforce the theme of pirate ships assaulting the harbor. So kind of want feedback on how we should approach adding new mice to very early game areas. I'll share some of the thoughts we've had when we've kind of had these internal discussions, especially when we're designing something like the mountain, adding content to it. Whether we try and limit adding new mice to low-level areas unless it's absolutely needed for the mechanic or storyline. So the windmill, we had to add Captain Croissant because we just needed that sort of extra ludicrous boss mouse to sort of be at the top. The pirate story as well, we needed some pirate characters to sort of really make it feel like there were pirates at the harbor, whereas the Granite and the Bionic, this just wasn't enough sort of characters to play with. Some other thoughts we've had are, this will be interesting to see what people in the chat think as well, transition some of the event mice, where possible, into new roles in the lower level areas. So for example, one theme we're exploring for the mountain is you're sort of unblocking the pathways of the mountain and you're making your way up to the top to track down the abominable snow mouse. And so running with a little bit of a snow theme, we might be able to pull some of the less festive looking Great Winter Hunt mice, some of the more snowy characters, and use them as the new mice in the mountain, move them out of the event category, make them indigenous mice. And then so high level players, you've already caught all those event mice, so you don't feel like, well, you know, I'm an Archduke, do I really need to go back to the Journeyman Mountain just to complete my collection? Peter said he liked that idea. That's fun. At least a mountain boss. Says Swift. Would anyone be opposed to us repurposing some of those event mice? They would no longer be Great Winter Hunt mice. We'd probably, well, potentially rename them, redo the description. But if you've already caught that mouse, then it's still in your collection, sort of thing. Sounds great. Assassin Eclipse says, personally, I don't mind new mice. I know not everyone does. Not everyone really minds it. It's just, you know, it's a minor kind of, I don't know if inconvenience is the right word, but there's just something about going back to an area that you thought you finished, and there's just a little bit more to do there. It was kind of cool, though. Like, I like to go back, and you pick up a few crowns. You know, you'll be in there like, oh, look, I just got a King's Crown for the Pebble. I never did that, so it's kind of silver linings. Salim says, I don't like them not being event mice. That's a double negative. I'm not sure what you meant by that feedback. Repurposing. Renaming the event mice may be confusing, that's true. I think we could probably, especially with the Great Winter Hunt, there's so many Great Winter Hunt mice and a lot of them are just snow themed. I think we could probably find somewhere we don't need to change the name. We'd probably rewrite the description though, so the character has a little different story that isn't tied to the Great Winter Hunt. Make it more about being native to the mountain. And of course, that's the other feedback as well. Question is, do you mind there being new mice, especially something like the harbor, where they're not overly difficult? You go back for a day or two, and you've collected them all. Now, if you want a King's Crown or a King's Crown for them, you might be there for longer than a couple days. Yeah, but Michael said enjoyed going back to the harbor to get those new mice. I love new mice. Okay, so interesting. And we'll see what more hunters say on the forums, but pretty mixed feedback, whether it's you like new mice, you don't like new mice in old areas. The other sort of elephant in the room is there are a lot of indigenous mice, which, I mean, isn't a huge deal, but maybe we could try to break that group up into two smaller groups. It seems odd the very first mouse collection you ever get access to has the most mice in it, so it takes a long time to complete a set. How about more Shadow Clan mice, says Darren? Well, eventually we're just kind of going in order. And I think when we get to the laboratory and the mausoleum, we'll probably add some more to the Shadow Clan. It's a pretty small group. We're just kind of overhauling these areas in order as we have ideas for it, as we have time to do them. It's not our top priority, but it's up there in the priority list. We always want to have kind of a new event or area brewing for higher level players. And then if we have the time to do so, we also like to at least be keeping in mind, well, what's the next area in the beginning of the game? Because it's good to see when new players start the game, get to keep them going. That's just good for the game as a whole. The more people playing, sort of the healthier the game is, the greater its longevity. So we can keep hunting mice for years to come. Riftwalkers has over 70. Sunken has 60. Yeah, the Sunken City was huge. It has a lot of mice in the Sunken City. Will you add the new mice from the older areas to maps? Yes, we probably would. Kate asked in the chat. So we have this checklist every release we do, and one is look at all the mice, and if appropriate, add them to Relic Hunter maps or make their own unique map. So things like the Narnia map scroll or the Narnia treasure map and all the Relic Hunter maps would get updated. The appropriate difficulty levels would get these new mice put onto them. Yeah, suggestion to remove the Hope Mouse. To move it out of event mice, that might make sense. Fidlito asks, what kind of map between Lost City and Forbidden Grove? Just curious. I don't know if we had any story particularly in mind for that area of the map. It is a blank, though. The Moussu Picchu is south of Zolkor, not north, so it won't fill that area. You're kind of moving down into the mountain range. The Leprechaun is the only event mouse I don't have. I don't have one either, and I've been playing longer than anyone. Maybe increase Hope Mouse attraction slightly too. That's a possibility as well. I might look at that. I haven't looked at that mouse in a while. Remove some of the Super Brie indigenous mice. It's annoying to crown them too. Well, some of the feedback we had from early players is when they would purchase Super Brie, and they would arm it, and they caught a white mouse or a brown mouse, they would literally send us feedback through PayPal so long ago, saying, I bought your cheese, and I'm getting these white and these brown mouse. So that's kind of the indigenous mice, especially in the beginning of the game, getting that immediate feedback to see, well, I'm getting way cooler looking mice when I use this cheese, was a little bit better feedback and made them, make players feel like there's more value in what they just purchased. And then obviously later in the game, there's more sort of intangible benefits to using magic essence and stuff like that to kind of do objectives slightly faster. But in the beginning of the game, that's not quite as reinforced. It's not as prevalent of a theme. So that's why the indigenous breeds, there's a few more Super Brie mice. That said, we do our best as well to make Super Brie for free or as accessible as possible in daily reward chests. Through events, we hand out a lot of free Super Brie as well. So I don't think it's unreasonable for people to be able to collect or earn like a bronze crowns for some of those Super Brie mice, but I can see how it's a bit of a drag when you're higher level, going back to a low level and using your Super Brie there, as opposed to when you're low level and you're looking to get more valuable mice, using your Super Brie there feels more rewarding. But that's sort of the philosophy behind it. That's kind of where we're at. Darren says, maybe those white, brown, etc. mice should be repelled if Super Brie is attracted to those low-level value mice. To some degree they are. When you use Super Brie in the lower-level areas, it removes some of the mice from the population or really shrinks their encounter rate and then adds things like the flying mouse. That said, as we've been overhauling these areas, we've also added access to some of those mice using just Brie as well. I think I'm trying to think of an example, was it the Fog or the Speedy used to be a Super Brie, or the Magic used to be a Super Brie only mouse, and now it's a rare mouse with Brie as well. In the town of Narnia, when we're adding one of the wanted posters, it's like, I like Brie, love Super Brie, and some of those mice used to be only Super Brie, but we made it so, well, they like Brie, but they love Super Brie, so you just get more of them. That helped sort of reinforce for new players that's the perception of like, what does this do? I'm buying this cheese, but why does that benefit me? What value does it have? You can kind of see, well, I'll get more of this mouse, so the feedback's a little better. Yeah, the Tiny in the Meadow says, Assassin Eclipse in the chat. I believe that was another mouse that we used to be only Super Brie, but now you can attract it with Brie. Okay, so moving on to the... Oh, wait, that was the last feedback question. Now, there's another topic I wanted to just wrap up, although we're running a little late here. And now I forget what it was. Oh, portal projectors. Okay, right. There's another little piece of news that I meant to actually put right at the start of Feedback Friday. We are currently working on a poll system. So we're putting together a poll. This is actually a third-party polling software, but we're going to integrate it in the web version of the game as well as the mobile app. So the next mobile app update will most likely have this poll feature enabled into it. And as another feedback channel as well, we're going to be putting out a survey for portal projector feedback to help hunters decide the future of portal projectors, if it's something we're going to continue to release, something we're not going to continue to release, or something we're going to continue with but make changes to how they work. And I think it's a 4-question survey, so keep an eye out for that. It'll probably not be next week, but the following week. I think we'll have it ready unless we hit some sort of snag. We just want to update the mobile app, make sure it's a nice, seamless experience to fill out this poll, so as many people as possible will fill it out. So keep an eye out for that. We can kind of maybe sneak peek some of the questions. I wouldn't mind getting just some initial impressions. And I'm logged out of this software. That's great. Okay. Keep getting logged out of things for some reason. I'm just clearing my cookies constantly. The developer's curse. Alright, let me see if I can find this here. I'll run some of these questions by you to give hunters a sense of where we're going with this. And I'm also curious too. I'm looking for suggestions of. Well, actually, we'll get to that when we get to that question. So the first question in the poll is just going to be: would you like to see more portal projectors released? Yes, no, or yes, but change how they work. Keeping in mind too, we might, if we change how future portal projectors work, we may go and overhaul some of the existing projectors, but that might be a whole other question after for down the road. The second question is, should portal projectors have unique mice? Yes, no, yes if the projector is easy to obtain. That's feedback we've certainly seen on the Facebook page and forums, is that having the unique mouse there is a little extra frustrating, you know, jumping through these hoops trying to get that really hard to get mouse in an area that you felt you already completed. Riser has mixed feedback about it. Getting the impression yes, but maybe make them not rare. Ryan says yes, but not too many areas. I think that would be the objective. I don't see every single area in the game having one of these. We were picking some of the more popular areas. So Fort Rocks was a bit of a test run for it. We picked the Warpath next because it's one of the most popular areas in the game. The other two that we were brainstorming was the Sunken City, to activate a projector and find the lost city of Mouselantis, and the Labyrinth as well. We were brainstorming ways to activate a portal projector and visit the Minotaur before he was the retired Minotaur. See, interesting. Michael says love the extra mouse in the portal projector. Somebody asking about the poll, will it only show if you've used it? Well, we're going to go with a title requirement, so you have to at least be so far in the game. Because even if you haven't used them, it's something you're going to come across. So, you know, if you're engaged and understand how they work, I think you should still get a voice in the discussion. Feedback in the chat here was the higher drop rate makes it nicer. I like there being an extra mouse, so that's interesting. I'm seeing, does anyone not, or really detest having a unique mouse in a portal projector? Yeah, this says the higher drop rate helps. Access to a new area with it, that might be a little overkill, Marine suggests, but so there's a little extra above and beyond hidden mice, kind of like the deep mouse in the iceberg, is in its way kind of like a portal projector where you really got to go above and beyond to go find that mouse. It's hidden within the area, and you have to pretty well be completed the area and really spend a lot of time there before you can catch that mouse. Shay raised his hand, I assume about not liking unique mice in the projectors. The extra mouse is the only reason I do these challenges. Having that secret optional boss feels amazing. So this might be very polarized. This might be another sort of contentious issue where you hate it or you love it. Makes it more fun. The very best says makes it more fun for me to go back to old areas if there's a new mouse. But then Shortstop says, I don't love being forced back into areas I've spent lots of time with. I can see that you're kind of bored of the Warpath, you've moved on. Maybe you spent months and months there before and you feel like, well, there's a mouse there, I gotta go finish my collection. And you kind of, anytime you feel forced to do something rather than making the choice to do it, it's usually not as fun as something that a goal you set for yourself. So this is where we're looking for some suggestions as well. I should probably wrap things up. We're getting close to the hour mark here. I feel like I look at the clock, like, okay, it's only been 15 minutes. Cool. I look at the clock again, it's like, okay, now it's been 45. The third question here, I'm looking for suggestions from the chat as well that maybe we can incorporate into the poll. And if you made it this far watching it recorded in the tavern section, I'll post a summary. I really appreciate any suggestions for this as well. And it's how should portal projectors be obtained? The current ideas that we're going with are, this is a multiple choice question. You can answer as many as you want when the poll goes out. Inside of treasure chests, as they are right now, a rare drop from mice in the relevant area. So rather than having to do maps and hopefully you get it with a chance, is just as you're going through it, every once in a while you go, oh, got one. Purchased with area-specific items, think like flame shards, dawn dust, sand dollars. For the labyrinth, that might be the Zokor loot, think things like that. Purchased with King's credits and those items, so giving King's credits a little bit of a new use. But you also still need something from that area, so you need to spend time in the area to get the projector. Or some lengthy solo challenge with a guaranteed component as a reward. So they would still take quite a bit of time to obtain these projectors, but it's less RNG. So I'm going to go do this epic mission, and I know I'm going to get a part. Get caught up in the chat here. Some sort of fail-safe. That might be something similar to if you could purchase these with sand dollars. You're just going through the sunken city, and eventually, even if you don't find a projector, there's a fail-safe where, well, I have enough sand dollars, I'll just buy one. These sort of guaranteed system where every 10 maps you get one's a little difficult to maintain and implement. Is something we did special for the limited edition seasonal reward, and we kind of decided to put more effort into that because there's a time restriction. You only have so long to do this, so we wanted to make sure that you couldn't have a horribly long streak of poor luck, or like even a chance for a streak of good luck to come your way. That's interesting. One from a map, the other from the boss mouse, but I think you'd get disproportionate. It'd be hard to keep them where one of them is rare and one of them's not. Okay. Any other suggestions of how you would like to obtain portal projectors? As I said, we're going to run this as a poll, so people will be able to put a checkbox in as many of those boxes as they want. Maybe there's 5 different ways to get portal projector parts, but they're there. I saw the crystal library. I don't think that's something we would do. Eventually, we'd probably overhaul the crystal library, but I don't see it being something we return to right now. But there seems to be a lot of love for the crystal library, making them rewards for crystal library assignments. Okay, well, I'll add that. It'd be difficult. That system is kind of archaic. I don't know if we want to go and dig into the crystal library. But that could be a good excuse to go and give that area a fresh coat of paint. Clean up the way it works, streamline the things, address some of the other feedback, some of the issues with library assignments. They're not overly popular. But that does kind of tie in with the idea of some sort of lengthy solo challenge with a guaranteed component drop. If there was some super epic crystal library assignment to go and get yourself some portal projector parts. Gift of the day would work, says Michelle. Just projector parts for days. But it could be a good fit. I'm just a little nervous, maybe from a technical side of pulling that off, but we'll put that in and see if there's a whole lot of interest in that. Yeah, map and library assignment. They do feel similar, right? You're going on this quest to find things. Now, you could be doing them both at the same time. Joe's asking about the Relic Hunter. Can we have another way around it? Hard is a low level. I'm not sure if I follow you, what you mean there. Change the library points needed for assignments to ranks instead. See, I don't know if that's particularly interesting because a crystal library becomes this hub, like this spot you go to start your assignment. Whereas it could just be something in your inventory at that point. I don't know if it needs a whole area with unique mice, but you go there and you click a button and then you immediately leave. It could be something in a different interface element. I don't know if it particularly needs a area, you know, unless somehow you have to hunt at the area to start this quest and then you leave the area. It's thematic though, it has that going for it. Oh, hard to get relics as a low level. It is. I mean, you can get a few, and when you track down the Relic Hunter mouse, it only takes one relic to get the scroll case, but as you go on, the scroll cases become a little bit more expensive, but you're also better able to farm relics. The Jade maps as well are a good opportunity once a year when those show up, to even as a low-level stock up. Okay, so that's neat. Well, I've updated that poll option there. Let's see, is this still assigned? No, it's not. Let me just make sure that this doesn't get forgotten about. Look, it's doing project management on the fly. Let's delegate that. Added an option to question. What were we on? Question number 3, I think. All right, there we go. So may as well just make this an hour at this point. Question 4. We'll look at a little bit of feedback here. So again, this will be in the poll, is how should projector rarity and reward value work? This was based on a lot of feedback we saw on the forums and Facebook page. The projector should be difficult to earn, but the reward for activating it guaranteed. So that is pretty much the Warpath, or even more so Fort Rocks, where the projector is hard to get, but as soon as you activate it, you get in there, you're going to get your artillery strike, and you're going to get your more powerful law trap. You just got the hard part's getting it. Projector should be easy to earn, but the reward for activating it not guaranteed. So imagine a scenario where the Warpath portal projector was 100% from every single map. You got one of those components, but when you go in, it's maybe a 50-50 drop that you actually get the artillery strike. So now the unique mouse isn't too tough to go and get to add to your collection, but those cool power-ups and those traps and stuff that you could earn from it, those are the things that you really got to devote some time. There's an interesting suggestion there, unrelated. Astro says relics for adventure rewards. That's an interesting idea as well. A little bit late to go and add them all to the old adventures, but something to keep in the back of our mind. Another option: the projector should be easy to earn, and the reward for activating it guaranteed, but not overly valuable. So we avoid things quite as powerful as, say, 1,000,000 gold from the Fort Rocks mouse, or a best-in-class law trap, or even the artillery strike's pretty powerful. See in the chat here, we saw two opposite opinions. Rack and Ryan. Hard to get, but guaranteed reward. I prefer the reward hard to get. So it might not be one solution that encompasses all, but it'll be interesting to see what the survey reveals as well. Swift says, yeah, avoid 2 OP rewards. So making it more about adding that mouse to your collection, and every once in a while you get something really cool as well. Finally, the projector should be easy to earn, and each time you activate it, you get a piece of some final reward. So you still have to do a whole lot of projectors. So imagine the artillery strike is made of 10 artillery circuits, and you get one every time, and the projector is really easy to get. but you got to do 10 projectors before you can finally make your artillery strike. Yeah, as Ryan points out as well, says, I don't like the idea of just going through the motion to get the reward in the end. There's a balance there, right, where if there's no sort of randomness or different paths to take to get to the same destination, it really is just a grind. It's like you're assembling some IKEA furniture. It's like, do this, do this, do this, do this, boom, you got your chair put together. Whereas if there's multiple paths to take, it's like, well, find some legs. Well, where do I get those? What do you do? I'm still using the chair metaphor. It's like, well, pick out any legs you want. Oh, well, what legs am I going to pick? My friend's going to pick different legs. And in the end, we still build a chair, but our journey was different to get there. Is a little bit more interesting, more game-like, and less like, you know, programming your VCR or something. As Katrina points out as well, that they're on the marketplace. That was why portal projector parts are on the marketplace. That is the fail-safe. Whereas if you're doing maps, you're getting gold from the mice, you're getting gold from the treasure chest. Eventually you can purchase it off the marketplace. But there's another polarizing feature where some players will gladly buy something from the shop for a whole lot of gold, but they are very opposed to buying it from the marketplace for a lot of gold. Swift says, I don't like too many things being on the marketplace. We can elaborate as well, get into the whys of some opinions of, you know, dig into like, you know, why don't you like that? Because that's something more actionable. That's better feedback we can take and use to help decide. Well, you know, if there's not too many things on the marketplace for this reason, then help decide. You know, well, this is a good market item. This one's not as great of a market item. But you know, it's got to kind of dig into the why of why you feel a way. So the fluctuating price is a bit of a contentious issue for Marina. Seems like many people hunt to get items to sell, and but I think that's the fun of the market as well. Is it opens up niche goals for people. Whereas if you really want gold, you have this interesting choice in front of you. It's like, well, how do you want to earn your gold? Because there's many different paths to get to the same destination of, I need 50 million gold for whatever reason. Somebody is going to go and park themselves in the highest gold earning location and get it all from mouse drops. Somebody is going to go, you know what, I'm going to go do just a couple Warpath runs. Maybe I'll get lucky with sandblasted metal, and that's interesting to them. And in the end, everybody gets to the same goal, or everyone chooses a different path, and that's what makes games interesting, is a series of interesting choices. Rather than everybody doing the same thing in the same order, and there's just a dominant strategy of this is the only way to do it. But there, like I said, there's a balance to get there as well. Because the game's called MouseHunt, not Market Hunt. Well, the market's a feature in MouseHunt, so it's a catchy slogan, but I don't think it addresses the reason why you don't enjoy something on the marketplace, and kind of dig deep, try to think of those underlying reasons of why you don't like to buy something off the market, and that'll be more constructive feedback for us to help to decide, well, what should be on the market, what shouldn't be on the market. But it's a hot button issue. It's interesting that it gets very polarizing, and there's people on dramatically different sides of the coin. Some people find it's really fun, some people find it's frustrating, and that's why it's important to look past those reasons, look past just blanket statements and think, well, why? And that'll help us make cooler things and incorporate the marketplace in a more fun way. Tibby asks, when will friends be taken away from Facebook or not? I don't know how you worded it there, scrolled past, but about friends and Facebook. We are looking, it is in our backlog to get a friend system in game that doesn't require Facebook, as more and more hunters are playing from mobile. Fewer and fewer, well, not fewer and fewer, but there's an increasing number of players who do not have Facebook as well. It's a little bit, we've done the first stage of the technical implementation of that, but there's still a lot of work to be done, but it's in our backlog. Ideally, we would like an in-game friend system. Somebody, the fastest points out, Warmonger loot isn't guaranteed, but Mojo Gold is. The master of the dojo, I think you mean by that. But that's the interesting thing, is some people really like that guaranteed slow and steady gold income, knowing that, cool, I'm going to hunt here, I'm going to take 50 hunts a day, and in 1 month I'm going to have this much gold. And somebody else is like, well, what if I get 3 sandblasted metal drops in a row? And that's really exciting to them as well. But it's completely different mentalities, and different types of players are going to have fun in different ways. Yeah, Brian, interesting from an economic standpoint about fighting inflation by the general sort of removing gold from the game. That is partly, or that's one major reason why there's a tariff in the marketplace. Every time an item changes hands, gold leaves the game in form of the tariff. It's an inflation measure as things go back and forth. And as well to sort of cut down a little bit on speculation, obviously. That's part of the fun as well, but... why is Glowing Greer not in the market but Ancient String is? Well, it is actually going to be added to the market. That's a little bit of an oversight on our behalf, or maybe we thought a different way, but as areas have gone by, I think Glowing Greer should be on the marketplace. General rule of thumb, anything you can buy with cash, you can get on the marketplace. I think it's a side effect of originally we didn't sell Glowing Greer, we sold Nightshade, but we ended up selling Glowing Greer. So not next week, but I think the following week. Or is it? No, there is one active development branch where Glowing Greer is now on the marketplace, so that will go live at some point. And to clear about the friends thing as well, as Sally's asking there, there'll still be a reason to, or there'll still be the functionality to connect your Facebook account and import your friends list. But just for those people that don't use Facebook or don't want to add, Mouse Hunter friends to their Facebook profile, we'd have a separate friend system, but it would tie in with Facebook still. So you'd still have, connect to Facebook, down the road, maybe connect to Twitter, but that would be a distant thought at this point. Well, this was a lengthy Feedback Friday, but lots of good feedback, constructive stuff. Added a new option to that poll. Like I said, keep an eye out. That'll go out probably in a couple weeks. We want to do a mobile app update so you can fill in the poll straight from the mobile app, and you'll be able to do it from mousehuntgame.com or the Facebook version of the game without ever leaving the site as well. Is nice. Do you happen to have a rough estimate on the friends list? Nothing. It's in the backlog. It's sitting there as a kind of user story, but no development effort has gone into the friending system. Only recently did we change it so we no longer ask Facebook for your friends of list, but when you connect to the game or you click that button to refresh your friends, it takes your friends and links them in our own internal database. The final step is going and creating the system where you can send and accept requests. All the sort of user tools that come with that system. It's a bit of a slippery slope of a lot of what we call front-end work, a lot of view, a lot of managing connections and stuff, so there's a lot to do there. Well, thanks for joining me, Hunters, for one of the longer Feedback Fridays, as they tend to be these days. Thanks for the poll suggestions, for all the great feedback as well. I wrote down the responses from the chats to the feedback topics. I'll be posting a summary in the tavern section as well to kind of keep the feedback coming. And we'll see you next week, either Jacob or I. Till then, happy hunting. Like I said, get ready for Tuesday. There'll be a game update, Hunter's titles, and early access to Moussu Picchu Treasure Maps. Trying to find the slide that I close up with. There it is. And after that as well, keep an eye open for the player poll coming your way. You'll notice some page banners, and I'm sure we'll have something in the mobile app as well. Bright and shiny to grab your attentions. Thanks for joining me. Happy hunting.
For
Trivia. Just keep it going. Just keep it going. All right, so thanks for sticking around. We'll do trivia. I guess so. I guess we'll do trivia. I'll just spend the rest of the day in here. It's a 24-hour stream. Start it up. No, actually, we got a lot of crunch time stuff to do for Moussu Picchu this afternoon. All right, the trivia question. Let's wrap this up here. Okay, this one's a little bit subjective. We did this from memory, so the answer could be wrong, but Larry has rewards. When Hunter's titles were originally designed, so this really is trivia, because you had to be watching Feedback Friday, because I don't even think this went live in the game. When Hunter's titles were originally designed, what was the highest title a Hunter could achieve? And bonus marks for knowing the mechanic that was going to be around the highest title. Michelle says no work Friday. I'm working. This is work. Knight is incorrect. Hero is correct. Yes, Jason had it right, I think, first there. I'm totally zoned out there, maybe because I've been speaking for 70 minutes. Jason has hero correct. So like I said, this is a little bit from memory. We could be wrong here, but when we originally designed Hunter's titles, and I think we've spoke about this on other Feedback Fridays as a little tidbit of MouseHunt history trivia, Hero was the original highest title you could achieve, and only the Hunter whom had the most points would be named Hero, and all legendaries below would be competing to take that title away by earning more points. So it'd be this sort of struggle to stay at the top, King of the Hill type mechanic. Then when did Knight get in, Ryan asked. I think we thought that through with the Dragon, but I'm going by going on 10-year-old memories here. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it went into the game in that way. Actually, I think I have this trivia up here somewhere. There we go. So I don't know if it went into the game that way, but that was the original design. I'm pretty sure we've mentioned that here and there. Michelle says Picard. Picard will be gone after the next update. That'll be interesting. I'll put the reward up as well. That's another little piece of trivia as well. The title after Archduke was originally Picard, I think. Was it Picard? No, I think the placeholder was King Queen, and after King Queen came Picard. But they were like 5 points of experience away from one another. So you'd be a king for one hunt, and then you level up to Picard, and then the game would break because no title comes after that. But that was our placeholder for a long time. The highest title you could achieve was Picard. So I guess you'd just be piloting the Starship Enterprise at that point. Brian, thank you for typing the chat. Typing the reward in the chat. I think I've already claimed this one. Yep, you've already claimed that gift. I haven't signed my coin as well. Trivia, Dave, not trivia. No, I'm sorry, guys. It's trivia. Who needs vowels? Trivia. I think this is an old template. I think that typo's been around for quite some time. Why isn't this updating? Oh, wait, there we go. Trivia. Trivia. So that was today's trivia question. I don't know what accent it is. Trivia. Hello, welcome to trivia. It's a little bit Russian, Eastern European. Stockade! Uh-oh. Claimed before Feedback Friday. I gotta test it to make sure it's not accidentally sandblasted metal. That's our neuroses. We will forever be paranoid that we will accidentally make Larry give out sandblasted metal. Alright, so on that note, thank you for reminding me. I went and I turned off, I was about to turn off the stream, and I just saw Hunter saying trivia. So there's trivia. Alright, on that note, goodbye for real this time. Keep your eyes open. Next Tuesday will be a game update, so make sure you check in next Tuesday for the news post with all the details. And keep an eye out for a player poll coming probably within a fortnight, if I can use that expression, within 2 weeks. Thanks for joining me, Hunters. Thanks for reminding me about the elusive chat question that I forgot about. Happy hunting. Have a great weekend. See you later.
You're a trap. Don't seem to mind it. You attract me. I'm a mouse, you're a cat. I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry. Oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back. You don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back. You don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. And just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. Just when I think I'm safe, oh. Turns out I'm never safe. Oh, just when you think you're safe, oh. It turns out I'm never safe.